Okay, hello, ma'am and everyone. Thank you for the opportunity given to us. So here I would like to explain about our learning design about using Prose for teaching EFL. But before that, allow me to introduce our members group. So please, okay. For the first is there is Luhwik Dianti, and the second is there is Ika Hindu Prayoga, and the third there is me myself Wahida Shipa Mariam, and the fourth is Ika Krisnanda Putra. So next, please. Okay, before we go any further, allow me to tell you about the identity of this learning design. For the education unit, our target is senior high school with the class 10 class and the semester is even. And the main material is about narrative text with the allocation, the time allocation is 2 cross 45 minutes in one meeting. Okay, next. For the first one, we start from the learning objective. So through learning with a scientific approach, problem-based learning models, and think, pray, share method, students are expected to, number one is students are able to analyze the characters, themes, and the moral message contained in the narrative text. And the second is students are able to retell stories with simple content from narrative text. Okay, maybe that's all that I can share for you. For the second, it's about language skill and aspect will be presented by my friends Krishna. So Krishna, now your turn.
All right, thank you for the time that's given to me, Sifa. Now I will explain about this particular learning design, language skill, and aspect. So in this particular language skill and aspect, we delve further into what can be done through the prose, or in this particular case, we choose a narrative text. So from the narrative text, we can be focused on improving our student necessary ability. This either can be, first we have identified as the reading skill of the student, and the second one is the speaking skill of the student. So first let's talk about the reading skill of the student. The reading skill of the student can be improved within our activities that is done in that is designed in this particular learning design through the activity of reading the narrative text itself and asking the student to analyze the character, the themes, and also the moral message contained in this particular narrative text. Now we move on to the speaking part, or the speaking skill of the language skill and aspect of this particular learning design. So in our activities, there is some form of feedback that is given by the teacher to the student about their pronunciation and all. This is delve further into the speaking skills of the student. As we try to improve the speaking skill of the student itself, this activity may prove to be advantageous. I think that's all that I can explain about my particular material. Now for the next material will be explained by my friend Hindu. So for Hindu, the time is yours.
All right, thank you for the time that is given to me, Krishna. So everyone, now I would like to explain you about the learning design. So based on the learning objectives, the purpose of this learning is for students to be able to analyze the characters, themes, and moral message content in narrative text. Students participating in the learning are expected to be able to retell, share stories with simple content from narrative text. With this, the teacher can determine the level of understanding and mastery of student in analyzing a narrative text. So the method of presentation of material from the teacher is also very influential in developing students' abilities in analyzing a narrative text. All right, that's all from me. So the next material will be presented by my friend Widyanti. So Widyanti, time is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Hindu, for your quick explanation. All right, everyone. Here, I would like to explain about the learning materials. So the learning materials that we use in this learning process is the narrative text entitled Malin Kundang. So as you can see in the screen, this is the a story text about Malin Kundang. Next. Right, everyone, that is all about the learning material. And now I would like to explain to you about the procedures of students' activity in the class. So the first step or the first procedures is the introduction activity. So this activity maybe needs the time about 10 minutes. So what are the activities? The first one is the teachers, as usually, greets the students, ask the students to pray together, and checks the students' attendance. After that, the teacher discusses with the students about what is going to be learned. So this activity for maybe gain the students interaction or activeness, the teacher will discuss first with the students what are we going to learn for today, my students. And after the students can answer maybe a narrative text, ma'am. After that, the teachers talks about the learning objectives that students are expected to achieve after the learning process. So as Sifa explained before, there are two learning objectives. And after the introduction activity, now we move to the core activity. So this activity maybe needs the time about 70 minutes. So because this activity needs maybe more time. So what are the steps are? The first one, the teacher explained about the narrative text. So after the introduction, maybe after the teacher explain about the learning objective that the students must achieve after learning process, the teacher will explain about the narrative text. Maybe the teacher will explain about the concept. After that, the teacher explain about the themes, characters, and characteristic and how to catch the moral message from the story, especially in the narrative text. So after the teacher and also the students discuss about the concept and also the themes, character and characteristic from the narrative text, and the students already understand about the material, the teacher divided the class into several groups. Maybe one group consists of 3 students. After the teacher divided the class into several groups, the teacher gives instruction to the group to read the narrative text about Malin Kundang or entitled Malin Kundang, as I explained about the learning material before. After that, the teacher asks the group to analyze the character, themes, and also the moral message contained in narrative text. So this activity, the members of the groups will discuss and to find about the characters, themes, and also the moral message contained in narrative text. So if the maybe if the groups have something to ask or clarify, they can ask the teacher. After the group finish their work, the teacher invites some group to present their analysis, while the other group gives feedback or adds some opinion. So this activity, for example, group 1 will present their work or their analysis about the Malin Kundang narrative text, and if the other groups have different idea, different opinions, so they can share their thought. So this activity will make discussion between one group and also the other groups. So after the group presenting the analysis, all of the students got into their own seat. So after the group works finish and discussion groups finish, every student must back to their own seat or their chair. After that, the students are required to retell the story with a simple language. So this activity will require the students to retell the story orally about what is their understanding about the narrative text entitled Malin Kundang with their understanding and their mastery. So after the students retell the story, the teacher gives feedback related to the students' presentation. So after the students come into the front of the class, they retell the story about based on their understanding. So the teacher will give some feedback that will encourage their speaking skills and also maybe their gesture, their expression, maybe they feel nervous. So the teacher will give some feedback related to their presentation related to retell the story. There is all about the core activity. Now we move to the last activity. It is about the causing activity. So this activity maybe needs the time about 10 minutes. So the first step in this activity is the teacher and the students conclude about the material that has already been done. So this activity, the teachers and also all of the students will discuss what have been the students have already learned. For example, the teacher will ask about how to maybe find the characteristic of the narrative text. One students and the other students will give their knowledge that have already learned. After that, the teacher informs the students about the next material that will be learned for the next meeting. So the students can prepare their material that will be learned for the next meeting. And for the last activity is the teacher closes the lesson by praying together and maybe greeting and say goodbye. All right, ma'am and everyone, that is all about my explanation related to the learning material and also the procedures of learning activity. And I will give the time back to the moderator. All right, Sifa, the time is yours.
All right, Widyanti, Krishna, and also Hindu, thank you for your brief explanation about our learning design. So, okay, mom and everyone, that's all about our explanation, and I hope you can understand it obviously. And if you have any comment or question, don't hesitate to state it in our discussion room. Okay, maybe that's all. Thank you for your attention and have a nice day.